What kind of thief tells his little girl to press play? The question cut through the rain-soaked parking lot of Miller's Market as Ryan Mercer stood with his cheek near the cold window of his own old sedan. One wrist already locked in Officer Caleb Briggs's handcuffs. Inside the passenger seat, 8-year-old Emma clutched her Angel keychain and stared at the dusty dashcam blinking red beneath the windshield. Marty Klein, the store security guard, lifted his radio and snapped, "Don't let that child touch evidence." Ryan only turned his head, calm enough to break a heart, and whispered, "Play the audio, sweetheart." 3 hours earlier, the same dashcam had been nothing more than a tired little box stuck to the glass, its corner held by a strip of old tape Ryan kept meaning to replace. It hummed faintly while he drove through the gray afternoon, past wet sidewalks and closed storefronts, the heater coughing more than warming. The inside of the sedan smelled like rain, old vinyl, motor oil, and the peppermint cough drops Emma had been sucking on since morning. She sat beside him in her booster seat, wrapped in his faded denim jacket, tracing the tiny wings of the Angel keychain with her thumb. "After the last delivery, can we get the purple cough syrup?" she asked. "The one that tastes less like a tire?" Ryan smiled without taking his eyes off the road. "That's the plan. And crackers. Crackers too. The square ones. The square ones." He said it softly, like every promise mattered because money was tight enough that even crackers had to be counted. His delivery bag sat folded in the back seat, still smelling faintly of pizza boxes and fried chicken. His cracked phone buzzed in the cup holder, warning him that his last order was running late. Ryan let it buzz. He had learned long ago that a man could lose time, tips, sleep, even pride, but he could not let his child feel like a burden. When he pulled into Miller's Market, the sky had lowered over the lot like a dirty wool blanket. Fluorescent lights buzzed under the awning. Shopping carts clicked against the curb in the wind. Ryan parked near the pharmacy entrance, close enough so Emma would not have to walk far in the rain. He turned off the engine, checked the rearview mirror, and noticed the dashcam's red light still blinking. For a second, his eyes held on it. Walter Hayes's gravelly voice from 3 days earlier seemed to live somewhere inside that cheap plastic shell. "Don't unplug that old thing. Sometimes the truth needs a witness nobody respects." Ryan reached up and adjusted it gently before stepping out. "Stay buckled till I come around," he told Emma. "Okay, Daddy." He had barely shut the door when Marty Klein appeared from between 2 parked trucks, one hand on his security badge, the other already gripping his radio. His jacket was too clean for the weather, his smile too practiced for concern. "Sir, step away from that vehicle." Ryan paused, one hand still on the wet roof. "Is there a problem?" Marty's eyes flicked once toward the windshield, not at Ryan's face, not at Emma, but at the dashcam. Then he said, almost too quickly, "Ashton Pike Motors reported that car stolen." Ryan felt the rain slide cold down the back of his neck. The strange thing was, Officer Caleb Briggs had not arrived yet, and no one in uniform had read the dealership's name aloud. Ryan kept his hand on the wet roof of the sedan, feeling the rain bead under his palm and the engine ticking softly as it cooled. Marty Klein had said the name too fast, too cleanly, like a line rehearsed in a mirror. Ashton Pike Motors. Ryan looked once through the passenger window at Emma, who had gone still beneath his denim jacket. Her small fingers closed around the Angel keychain until the metal wings pressed into her skin. "Sir, step back. My daughter's inside." "Then don't make this harder." The words came from Marty in a calm, almost helpful tone, but his body had already moved between Ryan and the door. The fluorescent lights under the Market awning flickered over Marty's badge, catching the cheap gold edge and making it shine brighter than it deserved. A cart wheel squealed somewhere behind them. A woman loading groceries slowed down, not because she understood, but because trouble in a parking lot always drew eyes before it drew mercy. Ryan lowered his voice. "That car is mine. I bought it from Walter Hayes." Marty gave a thin smile, the kind that pretended to be patient. "I'm sure that's what someone told you." He tilted his head toward Ryan's work pants, the scuffed delivery shoes, the faded cap darkened with rain. "But cars have titles, sir. Real paperwork. not stories. Ryan reached into his jacket pocket slowly and took out the folded papers he had kept in a plastic sandwich bag. The handwritten receipt was there, along with the bank withdrawal slip and the old copy of the title Walter had given him. The corner of the bag was wet from the rain, and a gray smear had crawled across one edge of the ink. "Here," Ryan said. "Please look at the time." Marty did not take it. He lifted his radio instead. Possible stolen vehicle. Adult male claiming ownership. Child in passenger seat. Emma's face changed at the word stolen. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Her mouth just opened a little, as if someone had taken away the air before she knew how to ask for it back. Ryan saw it and forgot the watching strangers, forgot the rain, forgot the insults sitting in Marty's polite voice. He crouched slightly so Emma could see his eyes through the glass. "You're safe, sweetheart." "Daddy, are we in trouble?"
No.
"We're in a misunderstanding." Marty exhaled as if Ryan's gentleness annoyed him more than anger would have. "Let's not coach the child." By the time Officer Caleb Briggs pulled in, red and blue lights washing over the puddles, 3 shoppers had stopped near the cart return. One man held his phone low at his chest, recording like he was ashamed and curious at the same time. Caleb stepped out with one hand resting near his belt, rain spotting the shoulders of his uniform. Marty met him halfway, speaking quickly, professionally, pointing once at Ryan, once at the car, once toward the windshield. Ryan noticed that last gesture. Not toward the license plate, not toward the tires, toward the windshield, where the old dashcam blinked its patient red light. Caleb approached. "Name?" "Ryan Mercer." "License?" Ryan handed it over. "Registration?" "I have the bill of sale and the prior title copy. The registration appointment is tomorrow morning." Marty made a soft sound through his nose. Not a laugh exactly. Worse. Caleb heard it, but his eyes stayed on Ryan. "Dispatch says this vehicle is flagged as stolen." Ryan held out the plastic bag. "Then the flag is wrong. That's not how this works." "Then tell me how to make it work without scaring my daughter." For the first time, Caleb's gaze flicked past him to Emma. She had not cried. She had not kicked the door. She just sat there with Ryan's oversized jacket around her shoulders, watching grown men decide whether her father was still her father. Something in Caleb's jaw shifted, but not enough. The screen in his cruiser glowed brighter than Ryan's papers. The system had a clean voice. Ryan's proof smelled like rain and motor oil. Caleb took the bag at last, looked through the fogged plastic, and frowned at the smeared receipt. "This is hard to verify." Marty nodded. "Exactly. We can tow it, sort it out downtown. If he's legitimate, no harm done." Ryan looked at Emma again. "No harm done." People said that when the harm was not happening to them. Caleb stepped closer. "Mr. Mercer, if I have to detain you and there's no verified guardian on scene, county services may need to be contacted for the child until this is cleared." Emma's hand rose to the window. Ryan placed his own hand against the glass from the outside, palm to palm, separated by rain and a 1/4 inch of cold. "Look at me, not the cuffs," he said softly, though Caleb had not taken them out yet. "Cuffs don't tell the truth. People do." Marty's eyes moved again, quick and nervous, toward the glove compartment, and then he said the one thing that made Caleb turn his head. "Officer, the dealership will want whatever's in that car secured before he gets his hands on it." That was why Marty's eyes kept returning to the glove compartment. Not because of the registration, not because of the rain-smudged receipt, but because 3 days earlier, before a police screen called Ryan Mercer a thief, before Emma learned what handcuffs looked like up close, Ryan had stopped for an old man nobody else slowed down to see. It happened on County Road 16 just after 5, when the sky was turning the color of dirty pewter and Ryan's delivery app was buzzing red on his cracked phone. Late order. Reduced tip. Possible penalty. He had one insulated food bag in the back seat, $14 left after gas, and Emma's cough syrup still waiting on a pharmacy shelf across town. The sedan had not been his yet. It belonged to Walter Hayes then, parked crooked on the shoulder with its hood up, hazard lights blinking weakly like tired eyes. Cars passed in small wet gusts, Their tires hissed over the road. Nobody stopped. Ryan almost didn't either. He saw the time, saw the warning on his phone, saw in his mind Emma sitting at the kitchen table with a blanket around her shoulders, trying to tell him she was fine because she knew he worried about money. Then he saw Walter leaning against the fender, one hand pressed to his ribs, the other clutching a brown paper envelope under his coat like it was more fragile than he was. Ryan pulled over. Gravel popped under his tires. "You all right, sir?" Walter looked up, startled, gray hair flattened by mist, eyes sharp in a face worn thin by years. "Battery, maybe. Or maybe the car's as tired as I am." Ryan did not laugh. He opened his toolbox, set it on the wet shoulder, and leaned under the hood. The smell of old oil, damp leaves, and burnt wiring rose into the cold air. "Try it once," Ryan said. Walter turned the key. The engine clicked, coughed, died. "Loose ground strap," Ryan murmured. "Not dead, just not connected right." Walter watched his hands move. Not fast, not showy, careful. The kind of hands that had changed brake pads at midnight, opened medicine bottles with one palm, packed school lunches before sunrise. "You a mechanic?" Walter asked. "Delivery driver." Ryan tightened the connection with a small wrench. "But poor men learn what they can't afford to pay twice for." Walter gave him a long look at that. A pickup slowed just enough for the driver to shout, "You charging him, hero?" and then laughed as he drove off. Ryan kept working. He did not turn around. He did not give the insult a place to land. When the engine finally caught, it trembled hard, then settled into a low, uneven idle. Walter breathed out like he had been holding more than. Most men drive past old trouble. Ryan closed the hood gently. Most men have somewhere to be. And you don't. Ryan glanced at the phone buzzing in his cup holder. "Ido." Then he saw Walter's hand shake again, just slightly. "But you shouldn't be driving alone yet." He followed Walter home at 10 miles under the limit, then checked the car once more beneath the yellow porch light of a small house with peeling white trim. The dashcam was still stuck to the windshield, its red light blinking. Ryan noticed the mount was loose and pressed the tape back into place with his thumb. "That thing still works?" he asked. Walter tapped the glass with one bent knuckle. "Better than most people if you let it listen." Inside the car, the recorder caught the porch wind, the engine ticking, Walter's voice dropping lower. "I was going to sell her tomorrow, but I'd rather she go to a man who stops." Ryan shook his head when Walter named a price and then tried to lower it. "No, sir. A fair deal stays fair, even when nobody's watching." He counted the cash slowly. Bills softened from his wallet. Every dollar carrying rent, groceries, cough medicine, and the quiet ache of being the only parent left to decide what could wait. Walter took the money but did not put it away. He stared at Ryan, then at the dashcam, then at the brown envelope under his arm. "Keep every paper, son," he said, placing the keys in Ryan's palm. "Especially around Ashton Pike." Ryan's fingers closed around the keys. "Something wrong with the dealership?" Walter slid the envelope into the glove compartment instead of answering directly. "There's a man named Derek Voss who makes dirty papers look clean." Ryan did not understand then. He only knew an old man's voice had changed when he said the name, and the dashcam's little red light was blinking as if it had heard enough to remember. The dashcam had heard enough to remember, but memory was not the same as proof. Not in a rain-slick parking lot where a police screen glowed brighter than a man's word. Back at Miller's Market, Officer Caleb Briggs stood between Ryan and the sedan, the plastic bag of damp papers in one hand, his bodycam light blinking on. His chest. Marty Klein hovered too close to the passenger door, his radio pressed against his lips like a badge of importance. "Officer, you heard him," Marty said, smooth and careful. "Old man, roadside cash deal, no proper registration. That's exactly how stolen cars get moved." Ryan's jaw tightened, but he did not answer the insult. His eyes went to Emma first. She was still inside the car, small beneath the denim jacket, watching the adults turn kindness into suspicion. Caleb looked down at the smeared receipt again. Rainwater had crawled across the corner where Walter's name was written, blurring the H into a dark hook. "Mr. Mercer," Caleb said, not unkindly. "Helping someone on the road doesn't prove he had legal authority to sell you this car." "I understand. And a recording can be cut." "I understand that too." "Then don't make me guess." The 3 short sentences sat in the air with the steady hiss of rain. Ryan nodded once. He did not say he was honest. He did not say he was a good father. He simply lifted his cuffed hands a little and pointed with 2 fingers toward the dashcam. "Then don't guess. Listen to the time." Caleb's eyes narrowed, not convinced, but slowed. That was the first small shift. Ryan was not begging him to feel sorry. He was asking him to check, order, sequence the quiet bones of a fact. Caleb opened the passenger door just wide enough for Emma to reach the dashcam controls without stepping out into the rain. "Sweetheart," Ryan said softly. "Press the button with the little clock." Emma swallowed, then nodded. Her finger trembled over the cheap plastic buttons. The speaker crackled. For 1 second there was only wind, engine tick, Walter coughing. Then his voice came through, thin but clear. "Ryan, this car is yours now." A truck passed close behind them on the frontage road, drowning the next words in a low metallic roar. Marty exhaled fast. "See? Nothing usable." But Emma leaned toward the dashcam, frowning with the serious concentration of a child trying to remember where she left a crayon. "Daddy," she whispered. It said 3:56 before the loud part. Caleb looked at her. "What did you say?" Emma pointed at the tiny screen. "The numbers. 356. Like when my school clock is almost 4. Caleb bent down, rain dripping from the brim of his hat, and saw it himself. 3:56 p.m. The number glowed pale blue in the corner of the dashcam display. Ryan held out the bank receipt through the open space between them. "I withdrew the cash at 3:18. Walter handed me the keys after that. If the stolen report came later, then somebody reported a car stolen after it was already sold." Caleb did not respond right away. He turned toward his cruiser and keyed his shoulder mic. "Dispatch. Confirm time of stolen vehicle entry on the sedan flagged under Ashton Pike Motors." Static answered first. Then the dispatcher's voice came thin through the rain. "Entry time 4:42 p.m. today. Reporting party listed as dealership staff." Marty stepped in before the silence could become dangerous. "That's normal. Dealerships batch reports. Sometimes paperwork posts late." It sounded reasonable, professional, almost helpful. But Ryan saw Caleb's eyes flick back to him because Marty had not said maybe. He had said it like someone who already knew how to explain the gap. Ryan lowered his voice. "Officer, would you read those 2 times into your body cam before the tow truck gets here?" Caleb looked at the cuffed man, then at the child, then at the old dashcam still blinking red as if it were breathing. "Why?" Ryan said, "Because I've seen papers disappear when people decide a man like me doesn't need them." Marty's polite mask tightened at the edges. He reached toward the glove compartment through the cracked passenger door. "If we're preserving evidence, that envelope should be secured by the dealership." Caleb's hand came up, stopping him. "I didn't say there was an envelope." Marty froze for less than a second, but in that less than a second, Ryan saw the whole parking lot change shape around one small brown corner tucked inside the glove compartment. The small brown corner in the glove compartment changed the weather inside the moment. Caleb's hand stayed raised between Marty and the open passenger door, palm flat, not aggressive, just final. The rain kept ticking on the roof of the sedan. Shopping cart rolled a few inches in the wind and tapped the curb once, then stopped. "Step back. Officer. I'm only trying to help preserve dealership property. Step back." Marty obeyed, but his smile did not. It tightened into something polite enough to survive a complaint form. Caleb looked at Ryan, then at the cuff on his wrist. "You said you know this car." Ryan nodded. "I know what I bought." Last 8 are K4N27B61. Mileage 182,409 when Walter handed me the keys. 182 for 31 now. Seller's full name? Walter Hayes. Caleb watched him closely, searching for the stumble that did not come. Ryan did not puff his chest. He did not look at the people filming. He kept his voice low because Emma was close enough to hear every word, and because a father's steadiness could be the only blanket a child had in a cold public moment. Caleb took a breath and crouched beside the open door. Emma, I'm going to reach into the glove compartment. Okay? You don't need to move. Emma pressed back into the seat, still holding the angel keychain, but her eyes stayed on Ryan. Daddy, it's okay, Ryan said. Let the officer do it the right way. Caleb paused at that. The right way. Not the easy way, not the loud way, not the way Marty had been pushing from the beginning. He pulled a pair of blue gloves from his pocket, snapped them on, and opened the compartment. The brown envelope slid forward with a soft scrape. Its flap was folded twice, not sealed, the paper wrinkled by age and the damp air. In black pen across the front, Walter had written 2 words. Keep clean. Marty laughed under his breath. Old men write dramatic things. Doesn't make them legal. Ryan did not answer him. His eyes dropped to the envelope, then to Caleb's gloves. Thank you, he said. Marty blinked as if gratitude, in that moment, was more offensive than anger. Caleb opened the envelope carefully. Inside were a photocopy of the old title, a service log folded in thirds, and a repair receipt from Barlow's garage dated that morning. The paper smelled faintly of dust and carbon ink. Caleb lifted the receipt toward the cruiser lights. The red and blue washed over the black print, over the VIN, over Walter's name, over a handwritten note at the bottom. Customer states private sale pending. Buyer Ryan Mercer present for brake sensor inspection. The timestamp read 3:07 p.m. For the first time, the people near the cart return stopped whispering. Even the man recording lowered his phone a little. Caleb's thumb moved across the paper, not touching the ink. This places you with the car before the stolen report. Ryan nodded once. It places Walter with it too. Still doesn't prove the title wasn't defective. No, sir. Ryan's answer came without pride. It proves I didn't invent Walter. The sentence landed quietly, and somehow that made it heavier. Marty stepped forward with his hands open in a gesture of harmless concern. Officer, this is exactly why the dealership should handle it privately. Receipts can be misunderstood. People get embarrassed. We don't need to make a scene in front of the child. At the word child, Emma looked down at her lap as if she had become something people discussed instead of someone people protected. Ryan saw it and shifted his body slightly, blocking the nearest phone camera from her face as much as the cuff would allow. Don't use my daughter to make silence sound kind, he said. Marty's cheeks colored, but his voice stayed smooth. I'm saying there's a process. Caleb looked back into the envelope and found a smaller slip of paper, torn from a yellow legal pad. The handwriting was Walter's, shaky but deliberate. Original title is Where Derek Can't Edit It. Caleb read it twice. Marty's mouth opened before he could stop himself. Derek said that receipt wouldn't matter. The parking lot went still in a different way then. Not silent like peace. Silent like a floorboard creaking in an empty house. Caleb slowly lowered the service log and turned toward him. Derek who? Marty swallowed, and for the first time, his polished security guard kindness had nowhere clean to stand. Ryan looked from Marty to the receipt, then to the little red dashcam light blinking through the windshield, and understood that Walter's envelope was not just proof of a sale. It was the first door into something someone at Ashton Pike Motors had been trying to lock from the other side. Walter's note lay between them like a match struck in the rain. Original title is Where Derek Can't Edit It. Caleb Briggs did not move for a moment, and neither did Ryan. The parking lot around them kept making ordinary sounds. Wipers dragging across windshields, carts rattling in the corral, the market doors breathing open and shut, but the space beside the old sedan had gone narrow and sharp. Caleb turned the repair receipt toward his body cam, reading the VIN aloud, then the time, then the note at the bottom that placed Ryan with Walter before the stolen report ever existed. Dispatch, he said into his mic, his voice lower now. Run a deeper history on this VIN. I need transaction edits, title events, and any duplicate activity tied to Ashton Pike Motors. Marty Klein lifted both hands in a careful little surrender. Officer, I really think this is becoming a paperwork issue. Then paperwork won't mind being checked. Marty smiled, but the rain had gathered along his temple, and for the first time he did not wipe it away. Emma watched from the passenger seat, her knees drawn close, Ryan's denim jacket slipping from one small shoulder. Ryan saw her looking at the cuff still locked around his left wrist. He could have raised his voice then. He could have pointed at Marty, demanded an apology, made the crowd see that the guard's mask was cracking. Instead, he shifted his body to block Emma from the phones again and said, Officer, if there's fraud here, please don't let this stop with me. Caleb looked at him. You're still being detained. I know. Ryan's voice stayed even. But if they did this once, they did it to someone who didn't have a dashcam. That was the sentence that changed Caleb's posture. Not sympathy, not pity, evidence expanding outward, a personal accusation becoming a pattern. Dispatch came back through static. Unit 12, same VIN shows a private transfer notation at 3:58 p.m., unverified, and a dealership electronic sale pending at 5:12 p.m. under a separate buyer profile. Edited by user D. Voss. The name landed hard enough that Marty's jaw flexed. Caleb's eyes shifted to him, then to Ryan. You ever speak to Derek Voss? Ryan swallowed once. His cracked phone was still in the cup holder, buzzing now against plastic, a thin insect sound inside the quiet car. He called me after I bought it, Ryan said. Told me to bring the car back for a duplicate title cleanup. Said it would only take 10 minutes. Did you? No, why? Ryan glanced at Emma. Because the message said not to involve Walter. Caleb opened the driver's door carefully and reached for the phone with gloved fingers, asking Ryan for permission before touching it. That tiny courtesy seemed to loosen something in Emma's face. She breathed for the first time in several seconds. Caleb held the phone under the cruiser light. The screen was cracked through the corner, but the text was readable. Bring the car in. Duplicate title cleanup. Don't involve Walter. Beneath it, another line sat like a blade wrapped in velvet. If you drag your kid into paperwork trouble, custody can get complicated. Caleb's expression hardened, but Ryan spoke first. Please don't read that part out loud. Caleb looked up. Ryan's eyes had not gone to his own cuff. They had gone to his daughter. She doesn't need those words in her head. For a moment, the red and blue lights flashed over Caleb's face, and the officer seemed to understand that restraint was not weakness. It was a father holding a door shut against fear. Caleb turned away from Emma before speaking into his mic. Contact Derek Voss. Request immediate response to Miller's Market with relevant title records. Also hold any tow. Marty stepped closer, voice softening into polished concern. Officer, Derek will tell you the same thing I did. This can be handled privately. No need to put Mr. Mercer through more embarrassment. You already put him through enough in public, Caleb said. Marty's mouth closed. Caleb called the number tied to Ashton Pike. The phone rang twice before a man answered with a smooth, bright voice. Derek Voss. Caleb identified himself and mentioned the flagged sedan. Before he mentioned the dashcam, before he mentioned Walter's note, Derek cut in. Whatever audio that man has, I wouldn't trust it. Rain tapped the hood. The market doors sighed open behind them. Even Marty stopped breathing for half a second. Caleb's gaze lifted slowly to the little red dashcam light blinking behind the windshield. Ryan felt the cold move through him, not fear now, but recognition. The truth had just grown too large for the glove compartment, too large for the parking lot, too large for anyone to settle behind a closed office door. The truth had grown too large for any back office. So Caleb kept everyone where the first harm had happened, under the buzzing lights of Miller's Market, beside the old sedan with rain beating on its hood and the dashcam still blinking red behind the windshield. He moved Ryan and Emma closer to the awning, away from the passing traffic, but he did not send them away. Ryan stood with one cuff still on his left wrist, his faded denim jacket now draped over Emma's shoulders again, his delivery shoes dark with water, his face tired in the shifting red and blue light. He did not look like a man about to win. He looked like a father trying not to let his child remember this place only as the corner of the world where grown men stopped calling him honest. Marty Klein stood near the cart return, hands folded in front of his clean security jacket, wearing concern like a uniform. A few shoppers still lingered, quieter now, their phones lower, their faces changed by the discovery that a story can look simple until the paper starts bleeding through. Then a black SUV pulled into the lot, tires whispering across the wet asphalt. Derek Voss stepped out with no umbrella, as if the rain owed him distance. His white shirt was crisp beneath a charcoal coat, his tablet tucked under one arm, his smile already arranged before he reached Caleb. "Officer Briggs," Derek said, warm and professional. "I'm sorry you had to deal with all this confusion in public. Mr. Hayes is elderly. His paperwork habits are not always reliable." Marty nodded too quickly. Caleb did not. Set the tablet on the hood. Derek's smile thinned by one careful degree. "I'd prefer not to expose customer records in a parking lot. You reported a stolen vehicle in a parking lot." The words were calm, but they made the air change. Ryan lowered his eyes to Emma. "Stay behind me, sweetheart." "I know his voice," Emma whispered. It was small, safe, nothing more than a child recognizing a sound. Derek's gaze flicked to her, then away. Children can be confused when adults coach them. Ryan's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed low. "Don't make her carry what you did." For a moment, Derek seemed to win the room back. He tapped the tablet awake and showed Caleb a clean digital file. Ashton Pike Motors listed as reporting party. A pending sale under another buyer profile. A status line marked disputed possession. It looked official. It looked neat. It looked like the kind of truth poor men could not afford to print. Marty seized the moment softly. "This is what I was trying to prevent, officer. A misunderstanding becoming a spectacle." Caleb glanced from the glowing tablet to Ryan's rain-smudged papers. The old fear moved through Emma's face again. Then Caleb reached into the evidence sleeve and lifted the repair receipt from Barlow's garage, holding it beneath the cruiser light. "This places Walter Hayes, Ryan Mercer, and this VIN together before your stolen report." Derek did not blink. "A repair receipt doesn't transfer ownership." "No," Ryan said quietly. "But it proves I didn't invent the old man you keep calling confused." The murmurs near the cart return faded. Caleb turned next toward the market doors, where the night manager, pale and nervous, had stepped out after pulling the security footage. On his phone screen, the camera showed Marty moving around Ryan's sedan before Caleb ever arrived, pausing at the windshield, leaning just enough to look at the dashcam, then stepping away to make a call. Caleb asked, "Who did you call before police?" Marty's throat moved. "Store protocol. The footage shows you calling someone for 46 seconds. Derek cut in smoothly. "He called the dealership, which is exactly what a responsible security officer should do." "Before reporting the suspected theft?" Caleb asked. That was the second crack. Derek's hand shifted on the tablet, his thumb sliding over the top corner of the screen where a username had flashed for less than a second. Ryan saw it. Caleb saw Ryan see it. "Officer," Ryan said, not stepping forward, not raising his voice. "I'm not here to bury anybody, but if that screen has the truth, let the camera see who changed it." Caleb held out his hand. "Login history. Now." Derek's polite expression hardened at the edges. "This is becoming inappropriate." From the passenger seat, the dashcam gave a tiny electronic chirp, readying the next file Emma had stopped before. Caleb looked at the blinking red light, then crouched until he was level with Emma. "Sweetheart, is there more audio after Mr. Walter says the car is your dad's?" Emma nodded once, both hands wrapped around the angel keychain, and Ryan closed his eyes for half a breath because he knew the next sound from that cheap little camera was about to decide whether the parking lot stayed a lie or became a courtroom without walls. The dashcam chirped once, a small thin sound that somehow made the entire parking lot lean closer. Emma looked at Ryan first, not at Caleb, not at Derek, not at the phones or the uniforms or the clean tablet sitting on the wet hood. Ryan gave her the smallest nod a father could give, the kind that said she was not responsible for saving him, only for telling the truth she already held in her little hands. Emma pressed play. Static breathed through the cheap speaker. Then came Walter Hayes's voice, gravelly and tired, but clear enough to cut through rain, engines, and every polished excuse Derek Voss had brought with him. Ryan Mercer, full payment received.
VIN ending K4N27B61.
From this moment, this car is legally yours. Caleb's eyes moved to the repair receipt in his hand. Same VIN. Same day. The dispatcher's timestamp had the stolen report at 4:42. The receipt had Ryan with Walter before that. The audio had Walter naming him before that. The screen on Derek's tablet suddenly looked less like truth and more like paint over rot. Marty's radio crackled at his chest, but he did not lift it. The recording continued. There was a rustle, a cough, the sound of Walter shifting the phone in his old car. Then Walter's voice lowered. Derek, I copied the original title before you changed it. Derek's face did not collapse all at once. Tightened by inches. First around the mouth, then the eyes, then the hand resting near the tablet. His thumb twitched toward the power button. Caleb saw it. Don't touch that. Derek froze. The speaker popped again, and then a second voice came through, smoother, younger, irritated because it believed no one important was listening. Sell it once to the poor man, clean the file, sell it again. He won't fight the system. He has a kid. No one moved. The sentence did what shouting never could. It traveled through the wet air, crossed the space between the cruiser lights and the grocery carts, and placed itself in every chest that had watched Ryan get treated like a thief. Emma's fingers closed around the angel keychain. Ryan lowered himself slowly in front of her, one knee touching the damp pavement, and took the keys from where they lay near the center console. The little angel charm was still warm from Emma's palm. He clipped it back onto the key ring and whispered, "Still ours." She let out one shaky breath, not a sob, just the sound of a child learning the floor had not vanished beneath her after all. Caleb straightened. His face had changed completely now, not softened by pity, but sharpened by responsibility. He unlocked the remaining cuff from Ryan's wrist. The metal opened with a click that sounded louder than the rain. Ryan rubbed the red mark once and stopped, as if even pain did not deserve to become a performance. Caleb turned to Derek. Tablet on the hood. Hands away from it. I'm requesting a fraud unit and a supervisor. Derek swallowed. That recording is out of context. Caleb's body cam light blinked steadily. Then you'll have the chance to explain the context on record. Marty looked toward the market doors as though a private exit might appear where public truth now stood. His polished concern was gone. All that remained was a man who had called a dealership before he called the police and had tried to reach a glove compartment before anyone named an envelope. Caleb's phone buzzed, and he answered on speaker. Walter's voice came through live. This time weak but unmistakable. Officer, that man paid fair. Don't make his child pay for your pride. The quiet after that was not empty. It was full of everything people had almost missed. The hiss of rain falling from the awning onto the sedan's hood. The tiny electric hum of the dashcam. A shopping cart while turning once in the wind and stopping. A woman near the cart return lowered her phone completely. Derek looked at the body cam, then away. Ryan stood beside Emma. Not taller than the truth, not louder than the proof, just steady enough to let both stand for him. Caleb turned, crouched until he was eye level with Emma, and said, Emma Mercer, I'm sorry. We scared you. That should not have happened. Ryan's throat moved, but he did not speak until Caleb looked up at him. Apologize to my daughter first, Ryan said quietly. She was the one you scared. And when the words settled over the parking lot, the question was no longer whether Ryan Mercer had stolen a car, but what kind of man he would choose to be now that the truth had finally given him power. The crowd did not leave all at once. It loosened slowly, like a knot ashamed of how tightly it had held. Phones lowered first, then shoulders, then eyes. One by one, the people near the cart return stepped back toward their groceries, their engines, their warm homes, carrying with them the heavy knowledge that they had almost helped turn a father into a criminal because a clean screen looked more believable than a wet receipt. Caleb Briggs kept the scene steady. He bagged the repair receipt, the brown envelope, Ryan's phone, and the dashcam file under separate evidence labels. He did not let Marty touch the car again. He did not let Derek take the tablet back into the SUV. When the fraud unit arrived, Derek's polished explanations became smaller under brighter questions, and Marty's store protocol broke apart against the security footage showing he had called the dealership before he called police. Ryan watched all of it from beside Emma, his uncuffed hand resting lightly on her shoulder, not pressing, not claiming, only reminding her that he was still there. Walter Hayes's original title was found the next morning in a bank deposit box downtown, wrapped in a legal envelope and marked in the same shaky hand. For the man who stops. It matched the photocopy. It matched the service log. It matched the bank receipt, the audio, the timestamp, the login history on Derek's tablet. By noon, the stolen vehicle flag was removed. By 3, the first other family got a phone call about a duplicate VIN. By Friday, Ashton Pike Motors was under investigation for more than one quiet theft disguised as paperwork. But the moment that healed Emma did not happen in an office, and it did not come with a check. It happened 4 days later, in the same Miller's Market parking lot, beneath the same buzzing awning where the rain had once made everything look guilty. Caleb arrived without flashing lights. No crowd, no radio voice, no hand on his belt. He walked up to Ryan and Emma with a folded document in his hand and stopped at a respectful distance. "Emma," he said, lowering himself until he was not towering over her. "I'm sorry I scared you. Your father did not steal that car. He did not resist. He acted to protect you, and I should have listened sooner." Emma looked at Ryan first because children learn safety by checking the face of the person who stayed. Ryan nodded once. Only then did she take the written correction Caleb offered. The official words clean and dry where Ryan's first receipt had been wet and doubted. Caleb stood and faced Ryan. "Mr. Mercer, I'm sorry." Ryan held the paper for a long moment. He could have made the officer stand there longer. He could have sharpened the truth until it cut. Instead, he folded the document carefully and placed it in the glove compartment beside Walter's brown envelope, now no longer a secret, but a witness that had finished its work. "Make sure the next man's papers get read before the cuffs come out," Ryan said. Caleb nodded, and this time it was not a gesture of procedure. It was respect. Walter came by that afternoon, leaning on his cane, his coat smelling faintly of tobacco, wintergreen, and old paper. He handed Emma a small silver keychain engraved with 3 words, "Truth has a sound." Emma clipped it beside the little angel. Charm, and for the first time since that night, she smiled at the dashcam instead of flinching from it. Ryan still drove deliveries. The sedan still rattled over potholes. The heater still coughed before it warmed. But something in the town had shifted. At stoplights, people waved. At Miller's Market, the manager held the door without pity in his eyes. At the pharmacy counter, the clerk said, "Good to see you, Mr. Mercer." And Emma stood a little taller beside him. Ryan did not become rich. He became believed. And for a father who had spent years counting dollars, hours, medicine, gas, and every quiet fear that poverty might be mistaken for failure, being believed felt like grace with work boots on. That evening, Ryan parked outside their small house and let the engine tick itself cool. Emma slept in the passenger seat, one hand around the new keychain, the dashcam's red light blinking softly above her like a tiny patient star. Ryan sat in the quiet, not needing applause, not needing revenge, not needing the world to kneel. The old recording had once been just noise trapped in cheap plastic. Now it was the sound of a child learning that truth can be small, dusty, and ignored, but still strong enough to bring dignity home. Ryan touched the steering wheel, breathed once, and understood that quiet goodness is never wasted. It only waits for the hour when justice finally learns how to listen.